Holly, as part of Heart Month run by the British Heart Foundation, we wanted to help raise awareness of heart conditions and the impact that these can have with people living with the conditions. You've been quite open and honest in the past about how you were diagnosed with a pulmonary embolism at the age of 20. I just wondered if you sort of briefly explain a little bit about what that meant to you and how that diagnosis came about.
Okay, so pulmonary embolism is blood clots in your lungs, and they're also commonly known as DVTs, which is blood clots in the legs. So I was diagnosed with PE, so I had most of my left lung was filled with blood clots and some in my right, and that's just, it was caused by the contraceptive pill and a lot of flying. So I was in the States at the time, studying at university, and a lot of our games we'd have to charter flights to. So that was the cause of why I was diagnosed, and yeah, it was a bit of a rough time.
And what was going through your mind at this time when you experienced these symptoms and then you were finally told what was actually wrong?
Well, I didn't have a clue what PE was, pulmonary embolism. I was obviously quite naive. I was only 20 years old at the time. Had no idea. I remember when I was in the emergency room, my physio at the time, she was like, it could be this, and I just thought, kind of batted it off. I was like, I don't know what that means, but it's not going to affect me. And then obviously when I was diagnosed, and then I had extensive chats with doctors. It was quite a big condition. I remember when I went into hospital, the doctors were amazed I was able to walk upstairs, and I was smiling and I was still kind of active because what I had was so intense. Normally it's 60, 70-year-olds who've been smoking all their lives, have really unhealthy lifestyles. To see me, a 20-year-old, an athlete, coming through the door, they were just kind of shocked, but they were really happy to meet me, and I was just I was confused as to why they were so happy, but it's because I was still looked pretty active, but deep down I obviously had all these clots I didn't know about. Yeah.
And what were the steps to recovery that they advised? What was the treatment plan after the diagnosis?
So I was put on a 6-month treatment plan, so I was on blood thinners for 6 months, and that meant I couldn't do any contact sports, couldn't play football obviously. So I thought for 6 months my life would be put on hold, and I was kind of fine with that. Obviously I was coming to terms of being out of the game and stuff. I'd had injuries before, but nothing that I was out longer than 6 months with. So at 3 months they wanted to repeat the test to make sure the clots looked like they were going. So in February time, I had another set of tests, and obviously I was living on my own in the States, and I got misdiagnosed. So the consultant told me that the blood clot looked like it was blocking the blood flow to my heart. So I was told on my own with the consultant and my mum just on FaceTime that I'd needed heart surgery and I wouldn't play football again. So I went through a week to 10 days process of wow, this is going to change my life. But in a way I was glad I was at uni because I had something to fall back on. And then my doctor called me a week later and just said, we've read your results wrong, and you don't need heart surgery. So, I mean, my treatment plan was kind of a bit of a whirlwind because I'd gone from just a 6-month blood thinner, medication every day, to told need heart surgery. And then COVID happened, so I came back home, and it kind of gave me a chance to get back up to speed with the rest of the world, because the rest of the world stopped, and obviously so did football players. So I kind of felt oh, I could use this as a chance to get my fitness back, and I'm glad that kind of happened because yeah, it gave me that time to recover and get back.
And what kind of things were you going through mentally at the time? Obviously being told that you might not be able to play football again, and then going into COVID. Yeah, how did you cope with all that?
I'm not going to lie, I really struggled, especially with the whole concept of it. I wasn't in a good headspace in America because I was on my own, my family were obviously here. I had amazing support out there, my coaches, my physio, Anne. She was a life saviour to me. She was kind of that second mum I needed. But I really struggled because my teammates, no one knew what PE was, and it was hard for me to explain to them what it was. So no one really understood what I was going through. So it was very lonely. I did suffer quite badly with depression, and I had talks with club doctors about going on medication and stuff like that. But I thought, no, I don't want to do anything like that. I know I'll get through this. I know I'll overcome this barrier. And footballers and people generally, you have to be resilient. So it allowed me to be resilient, to work on myself, and I feel like a much better person for going through that.
And I think obviously football is quite a good thing to have in your life when you're going through mental health issues. Do you think that helped in terms of?
Yeah, definitely. It helped me as well. Obviously, we train every day, and when I was in the States, obviously I wasn't a professional yet, but it's kind of that similar environment. But you kind of now I don't take for granted a session. I don't take for granted a game. I'm grateful to be playing. I'm grateful to be doing this as a profession. But at the same time, you have to realise that football isn't everything. Your health genuinely comes first, and everyone struggles with battles. Doesn't matter if they speak about it. Like everyone goes through things. So I think for me it was an understanding of, yeah, like the girls might come into training all smiling and bubbling, but they might have stuff going on outside. So it's that realisation of there's more to life than football. But obviously, like football's a huge part. So yeah, it was good to give me that perspective.
And you were finally told the reasons as to why you'd experienced these clots. Did you feel that you wanted to speak up and sort of raise awareness of the complications that the pill can have?
Yeah, definitely, because like I said, there's not much research into like contraceptives and even like periods in general in like the women's game, and especially now, like you see it with all like the knee injuries that are going on. It's like it's a crazy amount, so like more needs to be done. And even though like my story doesn't really relate to injuries in that sense, but like it's still, as women, we don't actually know what we're putting into our bodies, and like as professional athletes, so it's having that balance of understanding like what we're doing as women, and then also how that can like counteract our profession on the pitch.
And do you think there's a lack of conversation surrounding the side effects that arise from the contraceptive pill?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's because people are kind of nervous as well, and obviously in football it's like it's still a male-dominated sport, and obviously you've got more men's coaches than women's coaches, you've got more men's staff than women's staff. So obviously I think, especially in women's football, it's that conversation, like you have to be open and honest because this is life, like every woman goes through this. So I think it's definitely starting to become talked about more, but we can drive it forward so much more, and we just keep having these conversations with male staff and like just having that honest conversation with them.
And you've obviously been with us now for about 6 months or so. How are you finding your time at Palace?
Yeah, I love it. I love the group. I love the staff. Like I'm so happy here. I'm back like playing like my best football. So compared to like where I was with my injury, like I finally feel like Palace has kind of got me back to like where I was before I got injured with my clots. So it's a really nice feeling. Obviously the results haven't been going our way as of late, but we're very understanding in the changing room, like this is a process, and we're going to stick to our philosophy, we're going to stick to our style of playing. And you've got to enjoy the journey. It's not just about like the destination at the end of the day. We know we want to get promoted, but we've got to enjoy what we're doing right now and enjoy the challenges that come our way.
And you mentioned that we've had a bit of a run of slightly disappointing results. We've obviously got Durham away this Sunday. What are your anticipations for the game?
Obviously Durham is always a big game for us. We've just obviously come back of a defeat in the FA Cup, but we was able to beat them in the league beforehand. So we know that if we just stick to our style, we stick to our way of playing, and we're at home in front of our fans, like it will just be a good game, and hopefully we can get the result.
All right, brilliant. Thank you very much, Hollie.
Thanks, Kay.